Welcome to part 2 of the Flutter State Management series. So in the last video, we actually implemented a simple news app which had a single screen and two streams of news data. So we had top headlines and the news. So in this video, we'll cover routing as state management technique. So the idea is to load different streams through routes when you click it in the sidebar. So we'll see if for the simple news app, having multiple screens is useful, or is it best to have just a single screen? And also how routing can make your code neater in terms of passing data within the app. So let's get started. Okay, so we're back in Visual Studio Code with the emulator. So since the last video, I have added an asset like an image, just in case the input data from the news API image URL is missing. I thought we could add our own image in it. So in the emulator, you can see that you have the news. That's the custom image. So it's there in the assets right there. In the assets, again, images folder, and then the news.png. So if I just click on it, there it is, the image that has been created, just the news, if you can see that on the globe. So I thought it's more appropriate for the news. And a couple of code changes too. First change is in the pubspec.yaml. So if you go to pubspec.yaml, we have to add all the assets and fonts over there. Here you can see we have assets, and in the assets we have the path to the image, like assets folder, images folder, and then the name of the image. So this is the format. You can see it's commented out here. So if you are in doubt, you can always check the reference given by default in the pubspec.yaml. So after pubspec.yaml, we have another change in newsgrid item. So in the newsgrid item, the place where we rendered the image, like in the clip.rect, so we have a new check there. We check whether image URL is null or not. If it is null, we fetch our own image, which is added as an asset in the project. So the way to do that is with this code, image.asset, and you give the full path in your project, like the assets, images, news.png, and the fit to cover the parent widget, same as what we have for the network. So this helps to give your own image and handle the missing data that you're getting from the news API endpoint. And in terms of styling, I gave a color to the container that's holding a clip.rect as a child here. So here I give the color as blue-gray, so that gives a nice blue-gray background and have your image there. So another thing, after the change you make in pubspec.yaml, you have to stop the app and reinstall it on the emulator, like we did in part 1. So by the way, if you're interested in part 1 and this is the first video that you're watching in the series, you'll find a link somewhere on the top or at the bottom of the screen. So do check it out if you want to see how the news app was built that is being used in this video. What we have in the current setting of the app is when you click on the sidebar, you choose the stream, and based on what stream you choose, that particular data is displayed in the news app home widget. So instead of passing in information like from the sidebar to the news home widget, what we want to do is we want to launch different screens, like one screen for each of the streams, top headlines and the news, through routing. So what we would have is we would have two different screens and corresponding routes, and through the routing we want to launch those widgets directly where the API calls to the news API are made in that particular screen, like top headlines and news, and nothing is passed on by the sidebar to side drawer to the news app home. So I think that's a cleaner approach. You won't be needing that function that's being passed in through the constructor of the side drawer, and you can just handle it directly from the side drawer through the routing and two new screens. So let's work on those screens next. Let me get the emulator out of the way so that we can work on our code. Okay, so let's create some folders and some new files. So we're in the source folder, and let's create a new folder. What we have right now, these are all the widgets, so let's put all of them in the widgets folder. And create another folder. Let's call it screens. So in the screens, we'll create those two new separate screens for the top headlines and the news. So screen is nothing but a widget having a scaffold, app bar, and body, just like the news app home we have here. Once we create the two new screens and we want top headlines as the default screen on app launch, that will be the new home and not the news app home. The error is because we moved the files around. So I think the imports, we have to work on that. Let's go there. Okay, yeah. It's just the change in the path. Yeah, so the error is gone. Same thing in the main.dart. Yeah, that should fix it. So let's save it. So the errors are gone. Let's go to the screens and create two new files for the two screens. So we have the screen files ready. What we need to do is copy the code from the existing screen, which is the news app home widget, and copy it in the other two files. We'll change the names and the URLs accordingly, just specific to that particular stream. So yeah, you just have to change the paths. Same thing in new screen 2. So let's change the name. It will still be a stateful widget. So we can get rid of the current stream, that part of the code, because we won't be needing any input from the side drawer anymore. So we can also take out the set new stream method. So we'll directly use the URL for the news. Since we're in the news screen, we'll remove the top headlines and just keep the news part. So that's the get news stream method, and so we can give a specific name instead of from the current stream now. So just news, it's a string, and we don't need to pass in the method to side drawer anymore. So we'll just remove that, and we'll also change the signature of the side drawer widget. So the new screen is ready. So we can do the same kind of changes in the top headlines too. So remove the screen again here, and the method, and copy out the code here. Okay, we're done with the top headline screen too. So let's get to, okay, we seem to have some errors. All right, it has to be a string. Save that, errors are gone. And now let's get to the side drawer. We have to change that widget, remove that input method. So here on pressed, what we'll be doing is we'll be launching the screen through a route. Again, we'll still be using the navigator because that is what we use to keep track of different layers of the app, like the screens in the app. So each time we want another screen on the app, like on a button click or something, like in our case, the side drawer, click on the respective stream. We'll have a method called push. I'll get to that soon. So we'll be using the push method of the navigator and then pushing on a screen onto the navigator stack. And that's where we add a new screen based on the selection. Before that, we also have to give some names to the routes that we want to map the screens with. So let's go to the screens again. So in the top headlines, let's go to the main custom widget here, top headline screen. So there what we want is a static variable so that can be accessible without the instance of this widget. So the convention is similar to the web URLs, so it's derived from the web, and yeah. So we just give a name, and each time we want to load the top headline screen, we'll be using that path or the route through the routing mechanism and launch it in the app. So similarly, let's copy that, let's save it, and let's go to the new screen. So in the new screen, we'll just give the route as news. That is the routing part that we need in the screen. And also in the main, we need to have a table, routing table, that the app references each time a attempt is made to load some screen through the routing mechanism. So in the main, we go to the material app, that is the root of the app, widget tree. And in that, we can have an attribute routes. And as you can see, the type is a map, string, and a function that takes a context and returns the widget. So the widget would be the screen, the top headline screen or the news screen. So this will be the way to do it. But before that, we have to import those two screens in the main dot. Now both the screens will be visible and we can add them to the routing table. So we'll use the paths that we defined. So since those are static, we can directly access them. Now it's the function which takes the context. You can give it any name. Let's call it builder context. And then what you get back is the screen, instance of the screen. It had to be a column since it's a map. Then we have the new screen. We're done with the routing table. Also, we need to change the home. It will be top headline screen. So that is the code changes we needed in the main. And in the side drawer, now what we need is, okay, there seems to be an error in here. Yeah, for now we can just comment it out since we won't be using this news app home now because we are switching to the two screens. Let's go back to side drawer. So here on each click, what we want now is to launch that particular screen. So for the top headlines, the way to do it is by using the navigator. So we won't need the method anymore. If you do control space, you'll see different methods or versions of push that are there. So what we'll be using is push replacement named So because we have given the entry in the routing table, it is a named route. So here we give the name of the route. So let's import those two screens here because we want access to the route names. Here if we check the method signature, let me put it in here. So if we check the method signature, you have the string, that is the route name. You also have the option of passing in some arguments. We'll get to that too in a few moments. But if you don't have any arguments, you can just pass in the route name. So for the top headlines, we will have, so same way, we'll do that for the other stream as well. And I think that's about the changes that we need. The routing table in the main dot. Then we have two different screens with the route name in each of them. And then we have the corresponding launch on the click in the side drawer. So the reason to also have the route name like as a static variable is it reduces the human error. So once the path is given in each of the screen, you wouldn't have to worry about any changes that go on. And also I think code is more maintainable that way. So I think we have the hot reload. Let's see how it looks like in the emulator. Okay, so I think it's loading fine. If we scroll through, it's loading fine. Let's go to the new stream now. Yeah, the functionality is still the same. It's just that internally we have changed how the data is rendered through two different screens and how the data is passed around. But the question is, do we need multiple screens for the simple news app that we have just to render two different streams? It is not exactly scalable too. So let's say you decide to add two more streams. Adding two more screens wouldn't exactly be scalable. The only variant across these screens is the URL. So a better approach would be having just the one screen for the news, because the layout of the data is also the same. We have the same grid layout, we have the same grid tile for all the streams of data. So the best method is probably just to have one single screen. And then since we have the option to pass data along with the routing call, like in the push replacement named here, we have the option of passing in arguments. So that way, like, we can just pass in the URL as an argument, a routing argument, and then accordingly use that in the screen to fetch the corresponding endpoint data. So that is probably the best approach for the app that we have. But let's say that when we launch the URL, like the article in the browser, so instead we're doing that in the app itself, like in a separate screen, then a new screen makes sense. So in that case, we can have two screens, one for the news and one for the specific article. But since we are launching it in the browser and not in the app, it doesn't make much sense to have two screens for two streams. So that's what we'll finish off with, just one screen, but passing in the URL as the routing argument. So we'll switch back to the single newsform app, and then we'll pass in the arguments. So let's get back to Visual Studio Code. In addition to URL, we'll also need to send the name of the stream, like what we have in the app bar, top headlines and the news. So a way to access that inside drawer is by putting in the environment dot like a map where we have information for top headlines and the news mapped to the stream name and the stream URL. So just like we access the news API like in different screens. So if we go here in the top headline screen, we are accessing the news API key here, and we're also accessing it in, okay, let me pull that down, also the new screen here. So both import environment.dot and both are able to access news API key. So similarly, we'll put that in the environment.dot, the map, and then we'll access that inside drawer, which will be sent over to the screen as an argument. We're in environment.dot, so it will be something like this, and we'll have a map in here. So top headlines, this will again be another map with the stream name and stream URL. Top headlines, the name that we want in the ampr. So let's pick that up from the top headline screen. Similarly, let's do that for the news stream as well. Okay, we saved it. Let's go to side drawer, and here we can give the corresponding arguments when you push it onto the navigator stack. And we have to import the environment.dot as well to get access to that arguments. Okay, so now we'll have access to the route arguments. So that should pass in the required arguments like the stream name and the URL that can be used in the news app home, our initial default home screen. Okay, this is actually the news, so yeah, we have to change that to news. So let's copy this and put it in the top headlines as well. Okay, changes are done in the side drawer. So now let's change the screen to like the news app home. So in the news app home, we need to add that. Okay, we need to add the route name as well, just like we did in the top headlines and the news. So let's go up, add the static variable. Okay, we're done with that. Let's go to the main and change things back. Since we're using the routing and we only have a single screen, we actually don't need the home attribute. It's redundant. So we'll just remove home and it will still work. Also, we need to change the route in the news app home because we only have one route, and in the routing table the app would be looking for the root route, or else you'll be getting an error in the emulator. Like you can see the red one there. So it'll be looking for the /, that is the root route. So if it is not able to find that on the app launch, it will throw that error. So we need to change that route name in the news app home screen. So if we go to the news app home, it is a new stream, but it should be just the / to be the root route. So once we change that, and also we change the route names in the side drawer that we give. Previously it was top headlines and news. Now it will just have to be news app home. So once we make those two changes, the app should be working fine as before. So let's get to those changes. Here, let's save this and restart the app. So now we have to make changes in the side drawer as well, like when we click which screen to launch based on the route. So we'll change it to news app home. So let's import that. we have imported news app home inside drawer right here, and also we made changes to the screens and the widgets folder. So we removed the earlier two screens, top headlines and the news screen, and then we replaced that with the news app home. So basically moved it from the widgets to the screens folder, because now we're just working with just one screen, which is the news app home, and then using the routing to get the data, like which news stream to open and the URL to access the endpoint data. So let's get inside drawer now, and let's fix the screens, and let's change the top headlines of the news. So it will be news app home. The arguments would be the same though, because those are not tied to the route, just the name and the URL. So that should fix the app. We also need to make changes in news app home to remove the older code where we were getting the feed from the side drawer, and also we need to access the parameters that we're getting through the routing call done in the side drawer. So let's make those changes in the news app home. Scroll down and we'll remove the current stream, the older code we had. So get rid of the set new stream method. Let's just copy the code from one of the strings and just paste it outside. We'll be extracting the information on the URL and the name in the app bar from the navigation, like the route. So let's just get rid of the older code. Yeah, we'll get to the current stream once we have access to that data from the route. So here, let's just create two new variables, one for the stream name and the stream URL. So now we'll use the widget lifecycle method to access the data passed in the route. So we'll use the did change dependencies, that widget lifecycle method. So the return type is void, it doesn't take any arguments. So we override that, and we need to call the parent constructor as well with the super keyword. So here we can access the routing arguments that pushes this particular screen onto the app's navigation stack. So the way to do that is model route context. The type is actually object, but we know that what is passed in is a map of string keys and values. So you can do the as keyword and give the actual type, and now put it in a variable, the final one. So we have extracted the route arguments through the model route, and now we need to assign them to stream name and stream URL so that they could be used in other methods within this widget. Stream name, that is what we gave in the environment dot. Now we can use this data in get new stream, which is in need of the URL, and the stream name in the app bar of the scaffold there. That completes the code changes in news app home. So let's see how the app works now in the emulator. Okay, we have an error, so let's see what the error is. So it says method was called on null, like stream name. So it's about the routing arguments. So if we go to the line of code that's causing the error, it's right here. So the reason is, let's say like we restart the app, and that is like the first time you launch the app, then we won't be passing in any route arguments. So it is just the default root screen load. But the route arguments are passed only when you click on one of the tiles in the side drawer. So we'll have to have a check in place to differentiate that and accordingly give some default values like the top headlines for the initial launch. So let's set those default values and the stream name and the URL. So let's have top headlines. And for the URL, let's go to the environment. Let's copy the URL. So here we'll do the assignment only if the route arguments is not null. Otherwise, it will go with the default values. So go here, we'll include that check. So we have handled the error case. Let's get to the emulator now. It's doing the hot reload. There you see, it fixes the app, and now you're able to load the top headlines. So let's check the other stream too. Let's see if it's able to fix. Okay, as you can see, it's able to render the new stream as well. So the code changes are working fine after switching from the two screens to just a single screen, but passing data with the routing system. That concludes all the code changes. So let's summarize all the design transition that was done with the news app in this segment. We started off with the initial design with just one screen, the news app home widget, which passed in a reference to the method setStreamName to the side drawer widget. So based on which stream was selected, top headlines or the news, the corresponding information was passed in through that method to the news app home widget. So based on that, the widget could make a decision on which stream to render, and accordingly the appropriate title and the network call to the news API servers, which after fetching the data could render the new stream. Then we switched to the multi-screen with the two streams being independently managed in two different screens, top headline screen and the news screen. So in this design, there was a decoupling between the widgets. So there was no explicit exchange through the constructors like in the initial design, where the method reference was passed in by the news app home to the side drawer through the constructor. So with that decoupling, we had the routing in place, and depending on which stream was clicked in the side drawer widget, corresponding route was invoked in the push call, like onto the navigator stack, and the corresponding stream was rendered. That was made possible because of the hard coding of the stream name and the URL within each of those two screens. However, this is not exactly a scalable design because matching the number of screens with the number of any additional new streams is not scalable. The variant across the screens was just the stream name and the URL. There was a better option of passing in the data as route arguments. So we switched back to the single screen, but with data exchange done through the routing system. So this is the same design like we had in the initial side drawer widget and the news app home widget. So only difference is we had routing in place and we had one route, the root route, which could be mapped at the app launch and also when the corresponding stream was clicked. So this is more scalable approach because you had only one screen, and depending on the new stream that was clicked, you could pass on that information as a route argument. So that is all about routing in this segment. So in the next segment, we'll look into the provider and change notifier mechanism, where the state would be decoupled from the UI, like the state to fetch the data from the news API servers through network calls will be decoupled from the UI rendering done in the widgets. If you found this video helpful, consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. I'll leave some links to resources in the description. Thanks for watching. Take care. and hope to see you in the next one.